Hello and welcome to Gameweek 22 of the Premium Player FPL podcast. It's our first one of the new year. Hope everyone had a good Christmas and New Year and didn't catch COVID unlike Mindy. Fingers crossed you have better luck on that front. But lots to talk about, lots to catch up on, and coming off the back of what felt like one of the longest game weeks in history. And those who've got Bowen captain was nice little length to Game Week 21, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Bowen captain was a good way to end that game week. But having Damari Gray and Calvert-Lewin brought in for a hit, as I was just saying to you before we went live, that was it was weird actually. When I got the notification or read the tweet saying the game was off, it was like it wasn't even that like I was just like that's typical. That's just classic. Like it wasn't. I know some people got really down.
At least you use a free hit. That's positive. If I used my free hit that week and that happened, I think I'd be close to quitting.
Exactly. And there was that study, wasn't there, that came out recently that was in the news about fantasy football players having worse mental health than the rest of the population. And then that happened at about a similar time. The game is being called off and stuff. We've got a new data metric now, though, in the FPL community, expected postponements. You've got to consider a team's XP before you bring a player in.
Yeah, interesting. Obviously, with the rule change as well, it's not just COVID, is it? Because Leicester's game off. So the PL have kind of worked themselves into a corner over the Christmas break because they changed the rule into it's not just COVID, but if you can't field a team of 13, I think first team players, then you can postpone a game. So Leicester obviously heavily affected with Vardy, Dakara out injured, and then obviously Amati and a few others AFCON. So yeah, hopefully none of that. I think it's only Leicester really that will be affected by that. You think Liverpool are strong enough without Salah and Mane in terms of depth?
Yeah, I was tempted to postpone this actually today. I had a few drinks last night and at 7 a.m. start this morning, and it's just been horrendous today.
Straight through crew, was it?
The expected pints was low, given it was a weekday evening, but I overperformed on my metrics and
might start calling you Heung-min Son of the pint world.
And as with any overperformance, the regression was hard this morning. But yeah, I had a little nap on my break. I never really do that, but I needed it today. Feeling a bit more back to life.
It's a good job you do no work in your day job, isn't
it? But yeah, it feels like ages, isn't it, since we last recorded. So before we go into the game review, just quick get admin shit out of the way. So one of my mates was telling me yesterday, Josh, who's in our league, he was like, you don't tell people to sub and like and all that stuff enough. You need to do more calls to action. And so this is a tribute to you, Josh. Please, everyone, hit the buttons, subscribe. Twitter and Instagram handle is premium_FPL. Come and say hello. And anything else? And if you can, if you've got an iTunes account, if you've got an iPhone, appreciate a review on there. That helps spread the word. Yeah, cool. Anything else to mention admin wise? Oh, the deadline. Deadline is
go on.
Early one this week. Don't get caught out by the 6:30 tomorrow on the Friday. So one of those annoying Friday ones, unfortunately.
Yeah, and obviously with the press conferences as well happening on Friday, it's coming very close to the deadline. And I think the embargo quotes out till 10:30, are they? So that might catch a few players out. Couldn't think of anything worse than bringing in a player who's somehow injured and not been announced yet.
Yeah, that might be a problem this week, especially with captain choices and everything. But yeah,
there's a few, isn't there? COVID, Trent, keep an eye on. Should be fine. Ronaldo, late fitness test. So there's a lot of popular players that have got orange flag at the moment.
The Ronaldo one's definitely going to be annoying because that tweet I just sent you before saying he's going to see how he responds to training. I thought, I didn't realize it was like that touch and go.
It's Ronaldo though, isn't it? If he makes the game, he wants to be seen as like some kind of heroic figure. I don't think there's any worry over Ronaldo personally.
You reckon? Right.
I could be wrong.
Because yeah, he'll be the most popular captain probably, won't? But with that double, it's like him or Kane for most people. So But yeah, before we get into all that, should we try and cast our minds back over what happened last week or the last game week?
Yeah, so for those listening on the podcast, running orders up here now. So we're going to go through the game review, which we just touched on. Ideal free hit team for those who are playing free hit in game week 22. I know it's going to be appealing with quite a few teams doubling, so we'll weigh up the pros and cons of that. And then look forward to chip planning over the course of the season. Going to be quite a few blanks of FA Cup, Carabao Cup final, Chelsea. I know team, they're not looking too favourable at the moment, and they've obviously got the Club World Cup. And then obviously the transfer window, Aston Villa making a lot of noise. And then we'll finish up with the premium planning segment. Aim for the return of Salah, which isn't too far away. 2 more games, and then he should be back. So we'll start with yourself because you got a better score than me this week.
81 points, I think I got this week.
There we go.
Cool. So yeah, I'll read out my team for the podcast people. So Sanchez in goal, 2-pointer. Dawson, brought him in. He was one of my transfers from West Ham. Went for him over like Johnson and Diop because of the bit of extra goal threat from set pieces, but it looks like the people who went for Diop won there because he got some bonus points, I think, yesterday. Cancelo, 2-pointer. I've been too actually straining in on this to make out what the points were. Alexander Arnold, 4-pointer. What did you just say?
I was just staring at Bowen's 42. Fucking hell.
Starstruck. Bowen captain. I'm glad I did that over Antonio. I think, was that a close decision? You did the same, didn't you? I never really considered going Antonio, but I know for a lot of people it was a toss-up.
I captained Antonio.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I thought rub it in.
No, before when you were talking to me about watching the highlights and stuff, and you were like, "Oh God, Bowen!" Like I assumed that's you.
No, it's more out of sheer regret.
I see. Did you do it for the differential? Is that
kind of I just thought. Well, Antonio got 4 against Norwich, didn't he? Last time I played him, I just thought a lot of people were going Bowen, and me struggling bringing up the rear in 300,000 odd. I thought if Antonio gets a couple more goals, then it turns out to be a great decision, but not to be my season so far. So fingers crossed that might change. But yeah, look at the stats. It was pointing to Bowen, and he paid dividends in it.
Well, getting on to my tale of woe for the week was obviously the Everton fixture. So I already had Bowen and Antonio in my team. So I thought for a -4, I can bring in Gray and Calvert-Lewin. I quite liked Everton's fixtures after, like, for the double and going beyond. So I think Everton's fixtures are quite decent. Just to quickly check them now. Yeah, so they've got Norwich, Villa, Newcastle, Leeds, Southampton coming up. So I thought they sort of were justified the hit to bring in some Everton, given the double, but didn't factor in the fact that Leicester might cry off the game. So that's another thing to consider when you're bringing in players now, isn't it? Like, how many fit players have teams got? How many players are at AFCON? All that stuff. Annoying, but an extra thing for the game for a while. And then, yes, Son. A lot of people got Son for Salah. That's something now I need to sort. That'll be what most people are doing with the transfer this week. Up front, Calvert-Lewin, as mentioned. The penalty miss as well, to add... That just caps off an all-round horrendous transfer. And then Antonio Ronaldo up front. So yeah, interesting decisions now for me because obviously Watford will have a double, which we'll talk about, and there's a lot of strikers like Dennis in particular that people are looking at for this week. And I'm not really sure now if I want to get rid of Calvert-Lewin because he's got Norwich. It's one of those classic things. You don't take out a player before Norwich, but yeah, we'll talk about that towards the end. So yeah, 81 points, happy with that. I ranked Green Arrow up to 85k, which I think is my highest rank of the season. So yeah, pleased with that. Could have been more if the Leicester game hadn't been called off, Leicester Everton, but it is what it is.
Cool.
On to you.
We'll move on to my team. The computer is playing up the last few weeks. It's doing that, but yeah. So I got 69 points. Obviously, the difference is captaining Antonio over Bowen. Yeah, that kind of played out as the stats suggested. It obviously went as a differential, didn't work out too much. But got Ramsdale in net 1, Cancelo 2, Reguilon 6, who now has a double, Trent 4. Obviously, yellow flagged with coronavirus. It might be one of the many false positives that Liverpool somehow recorded for the Carabao Cup, which is interesting. Gray 2, Son 6, Jota 5, Bowen 21. So that's same midfield as yourself, isn't it? And then King 2, Antonio 18, and Ronaldo 2, who's yellow flagged as well, but now has a double. So yeah, I'm probably looking at moving on Son as well, like yourself. It's just a question of where do you go? Do you go Bruno with the double? We'll probably talk about this later. Or Antonio to Kane and Son down to a Maddison or something like that. That's probably the 2 routes that I'll go down.
Interesting. So was it I'm not rubbing it in, but what was the red rise?
It is a rank rise to 350k. So still doing better than your season last year.
Is that how you're trying to? You're looking for the positive.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. I'll close the gap next few weeks. Yeah, not captain and Bowen. Obviously, lost my ground this week. But moving on to 22. These are the teams that'll double, isn't there? There's 8 in total.
Yeah. So Brentford, Brighton, Burnley, Chelsea, Leicester, United, Tottenham, Watford have all got a double. So just looking at that, like which if you were to pick the teams that have the best double, which ones would you say?
Well, if it wasn't Watford, their fixtures are the best, but I'd be reluctant to have more than one. I think one definitely have, but King and Dennis double up would probably be the other way, but then you're kind of losing out on another striker. They've definitely got the best fixtures in terms of players of that team and the fixtures. Then you probably, I mean, looking at United, aren't you? But then even them last few games, they got very lucky. FA Cup. I've obviously got Ronaldo and Dallo already, who's now out of favour, but played the FA Cup game. That on paper, when you weigh up it's United, they've probably got the best fixtures, haven't they?
Yeah, I think I agree with you on Watford as well. It's just for a lot of people, getting Dennis would just be an easy option there, won't it? Apart from for people like me, Brian, Dominic Calvert-Lewin last week. It's a tricky.
Oh, so you don't have a Watford striker, do you?
No, so
it's probably easier for you. Yeah, it's easier decision, I reckon.
What, an easy decision to get him or to not?
Well, Dennis or King, yeah.
Well, so would you get rid of Dominic Calvert-Lewin with Norwich this week? Like the way I kind of look at it, playing Norwich is like a double.
That's true.
It's not really, but it's just the fact that a few weeks ago I took out Lacazette ahead of Norwich, and that massively didn't work. I kind of needed to do it at that time for other reasons, but
you don't know how them Watford games are going to play out, do you? They could. Well, it is Watford, but like 2 relegation rivals, more often than not, those kind of games are quite tight, aren't they? Watford are an anomaly, so it might be like 4-3 or something, but on the balance of play, those games are quite tight.
The other thing that makes it tricky for people who've got Calvert-Lewin is that it's not just Norwich that's the good fixture; it's the next few as well. Like, because they've got Newcastle and Leeds and stuff coming up in the next 4, so you might want him again if he starts to look good. I don't know. It's a tricky one. I'll be weighing that up over the next 24 hours. But yeah, I think in terms of the other teams here that have a double, Leicester's ones, the fact that Leicester have got Burnley as part of the double, and Tottenham's not a great fixture, but you'd think there'd be gold in that one, I think. So for the attacking assets, it's a good double, I reckon. As we were saying, the in terms of the new metric, expected postponements, that's something to look at with Leicester. But from what Brendan Rodgers has said in his press conference that's just happened, it looks like they've got players back and they shouldn't really have a problem, you'd hope, now that they've got a few players back. I think like people like Daka and stuff back from injury. So,
is Daka back? I was going to say who plays up front because obviously Iheanacho's away. Vardy's injured. So yeah, good that Daka's back.
Yeah, maybe lessens the appeal of, because I think some people are considering players like what's he called, Lookman and stuff like that. But yeah, if Daka's back, I wouldn't be looking at Lookman now. Maddison's the standout, isn't he? Really, from Leicester. I think that'll be a popular move, Son to Maddison.
Yeah, definitely.
That's probably one I'm going to consider. Any other players?
Burnley without Chris Wood now. Use the strikers, Ashley Barnes and Vidra. Maybe if they haven't got a move to make, then a defender maybe from Burnley.
I suppose actually the other thing with Burnley is they've got the most games of anyone to catch up, haven't they? So in terms of just pure appearance points, you're going to be up on the deal at some point, bringing in Burnley players. It's just they're not that Burnley anymore where they keep clean sheets. It's like they've been trying to score more and it's not really settled yet, has it? And they've been having to play Aaron Lennon up front, which I mean, he looked all right in some. Like, he played great against United up front, but it's not really what you want to be doing long term, is it? Playing 34, is it 30, 34
in 2021?
Yeah, exactly. So
I think we can rule out Brentford, can't we? And Chelsea's probably. I know Brighton's the second game, but keep an eye on the Club World Cup, which is it one more week after this one? I think they play Spurs after this, and then so it's not really a team that I want to go near.
No, yeah,
I think unless I'm on a free hit, that I might be tempted to buy a Mount or Alonso.
The other thing actually to mention with Leicester is that I think their fixtures are bad afterwards, but it kind of worked for Maddison. If you're bringing in Maddison for Son, that slot will then eventually become Salah, won't it? So you're not really having to think long term with that transfer.
Yeah, or could become an immediate City player after 20, because 23 City's fixture is really good. That could be another way that you do it.
Yeah, that's something else I've been wondering. Like, as you can probably see now that we've talked it through, it's not really that appealing as a double, this one, compared to some of the other ones that might come. I'm wondering whether patience and just like kind of maybe just leaving it and seeing, rather taking hits, like maybe if you're in a position where you can save a transfer or whatever, you could just load up on, if you've not got City assets for their run that starts next week, you could just bring in a City midfielder and a defender or something next week. If you're not sold on any of these doubles, like I think City will probably score more goals and keep more clean sheets in that run starting for them next week than any of the players we're talking about here.
For those that, just to counter it, for those that do want a set on playing their free hit this week, who would you say would be the players that you'd probably pick?
Well, should we do that when we actually get to the building the team?
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. Was that a segue or was it a failed segue?
It was a segue, but then you just didn't.
Oh, right. Because I thought you were going to. How are we going to do it? Are we going to do it? Is there a way? Is it possible to like share the thing, and then people can see what?
Technology. Eh? Better remember to not click complete.
So yeah, I think off the top of my head, let's go through while you're ruining your team there. We said before that Maddison's one of the standouts. Well, should we just go through it in order? So we'll start with the keepers.
Yeah.
So
I mean, De Gea is probably the obvious one, isn't he?
Yeah, United defense looks so bad at the moment, though. Just can't control any games. What about Lloris?
If they got Leicester, Arsenal.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, right. Go on. Put in De Gea.
And then to avoid any COVID, we'll sort that out later. In terms of defence, I think if Trent's still available, then I'll still be playing him. I know they got Brentford at home, which Brentford are in poor form, aren't they? So I think Trent definitely would be one that I'll pick. I'll probably take a gamble on not having a City player against Chelsea, just because he's free hit kind of differential. What one stop it?
I'd go Alonso.
Yeah, definitely.
He didn't play last night, did he? So you'd hope he plays the next two.
Would you keep Reguilon, or would you go for someone else in that Tottenham?
He's been managing his minutes a bit, hasn't he, recently? Reguilon. I think you're safer with maybe if you're going for the safe pick, it'd be Eric Dyer, but Emerson Royale's been loading in the crosses. They're all awful, but I think he got some bonus points in one of the games just from the sheer number of crosses he was throwing into the box. Can't remember which game it was. Might have been Southampton. Maybe go Emerson.
Yeah, let's do it because I think the wing backs Tottenham obviously a bit like Chelsea. Like it's worth a gamble, isn't it? On free hit. And then I'm trying to think. Given by Cucurella from Brighton, they've got Chelsea. Is it Chelsea and Burnley? Is that double? Or...
Would you not consider Lamptey? Do you not think he'll play both?
He came on in the last game. So yeah, I'm not sure if he's going to play.
Fair.
Palace they've got, obviously a Friday night game, isn't it? Palace at home and then Chelsea at home. So 2 home fixtures. I know it's Chelsea.
Go for. What about we've got De Gea for United. So yeah, maybe we wouldn't go for a United defender. So yeah, Cucurella.
Then in terms of going forward, Jota, same reasons as Trent, I'd say. Brentford at home, definitely going to play. Salah out. Gives a stick on. And then midfielder-wise, probably Maddison. I'll be tempted by. Same as you.
Yeah.
And then maybe Bruno Fernandes. Only because you're going to have a lot of money here, aren't you? Unless you're going Kane and Ronaldo.
Yeah, so I actually think if it's possible, I'd rather have Kane than Bruno. Yeah, I think he's got a ridiculous record against Leicester, Kane, and I think his shot numbers have been improving recently. He's looking better. It's just you
just don't know how the effect of Son's gonna.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if Bruno was in slightly better form, I'd consider that more, but I'm not sure.
And then it's one of Dennis or King, isn't it? I'd probably go Dennis if he's real fit.
Yeah, go for Dennis. What about Lucas Moura? He'll be playing. He was playing like out of position last night, I think.
The Son role.
Mount, Chelsea.
Yeah, I think if you're going to play free hit, now's the time to get Chelsea because you don't have to worry about them being in your team after. And then you've got 4-8. And then this is just fodder, isn't it, for your bench? Just doubles that you know are going to play, I reckon. Trying to think who else has had a good... Maybe Burnley defender? Or Pope's a bit expensive.
What about... who else? Is there anyone else from United defence we could go for? Because their fixtures are, as you were saying, up there with the best.
You just don't know who's going to play, do you? Sure. Well, Shaw's suspended for the first one. So maybe Tellers.
But then Tellers might just get that one and then Shaw come in for the second one.
In terms of centre half, Varane's probably the most nailed on, isn't he?
He's quite, he's 5'5" though. Who else? With Dallo, maybe because he's cheap enough in terms of being a bench one, and just hope that he plays both.
Yeah, because you might not even start him anyway.
Yeah.
And then you just got money left for a midfielder, and trying to think who else. Maybe Casper in there, 4.8, not that expensive, is it? And then you got a 5.4. Obviously, start De Gea in case United have a COVID outbreak. And then you can probably go to anyone from that.
Yeah.
Because unlikely to play if you've got a team of doubles. Say for argument's sake, Trossard maybe, and then maybe downgrade keeper or something like that. But that's probably the base of it, isn't it?
So I'll read out the starting 11 for the podcast listeners to recap. So we've gone for De Gea in net, Alonso, Alexander-Arnold, Emerson, and Cucurella. Maddison, and then midfield, Maddison, Jota, Moura, Mount, and then 3 strikers, Kane, Dennis, Ronaldo. So you could play around with it a little bit, couldn't you? Like if you didn't fancy Kane, you could have a cheaper striker and go for Bruno, as you were saying. Something like that. I think getting one of Kane or Bruno makes sense if you're on free hit, because they're the players that people who aren't on free hit aren't going to have. So that's like the differential you'll be hoping that pays off. You just need to remember to hit confirm on those transfers on your team, Callum.
I'm not tempted. No chance. Not this week anyway. But yeah, it's there for those that want it.
Yeah, so yeah, we've gone through the free hit team, but I don't think either of us are going to use it. Should we actually, while we're on that, should we talk about on that other slide actually first why we're not free hitting?
Yeah, let's do it.
So this was from the well-known, well-loved Black Box, FPL Black Box. So that this is kind of a handy outline. It's just for the people who listen on the podcast. It's just a little chart with all the game weeks coming up and where other blanks and doubles might fall. And it just basically shows that we're probably going to need the free hit chip in lots of other places. So this week really isn't the one, especially with the looming threat, even though it's not that great, it seems, this week with games being cancelled. I think it'll just be a better time to play it later on. We were discussing, weren't we, before the fact that Liverpool and Arsenal, I think it's game week 27, that they could both, they're likely to both not to have a game then. And a lot of teams will have like 4 or 5 players from Liverpool, Arsenal combined. So you're going to need
Chelsea
likely
as well.
to need it there, likely to need a free hit there. So, and then in game week 30, when there's the FA Cup quarterfinals, that's usually a big blank where you're going to need a free hit. So yeah, I think there's going to be 2 more game weeks in the season where I'm going to need the free hit more, essentially. So that's like a TLDR version of why no free hit for us, I think, isn't it?
I think what puts me off most at the moment is just the loom of postponements as well, because you like to think around February, March time things will start to lighten up like they did last year in terms of COVID cases and stuff. So I think that just adds an extra layer to it for me. Reason why not to do it. If Human and Iron, that probably puts you against it, doesn't it? So yeah, that's one to keep. I couldn't think of anything worse than playing a chip and being distraught at what the outcome of it.
Yeah, exactly. So no free hits for us unless something strange happens over the next 24 hours and half my team isn't available.
Yeah, just to touch on the games that obviously aren't doubles this week. So this is from Abu backer, for those not following him on Twitter, one of the must follows on Twitter for FPL stuff. He was outraged at the Everton postponement, wasn't he? On Twitter, thought he was going to launch a lawsuit against them. It was a very strongly worded tweet. He probably needs to read the article about mental health in FPL, doesn't he? But nevertheless, lots of great content on Big Man Backer's Twitter feed, and this is around basically just Liverpool 52%. For a clean sheet, City 40% despite playing Chelsea. So these are all around bookies odds. So that just says that Trent and Cancelo are both good options despite a single game week. I wouldn't be surprised if Cancelo gets a good score against Chelsea this weekend. So I'll probably play him in my starting 11 for that reason, as my only City player. And then obviously Antonio, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, just less than 50% chance of scoring if you're keeping Mr. DCL. Obviously Norwich, terrible defence. Man United best combined odds for a clean sheet and 2.5 goals. I don't know if the bookies will have that right. We'll soon find out. And then King, slightly better odds than Dennis to score despite the recent form. I've got King, still waiting for the points to come. I remember the decision at the time, wasn't it? It was King or Dennis, and Dennis has outscored him every week over the last one that he was injured for, I think. But other than, yeah, be interesting to see how that plays out. I think if you've got King, don't move it on to Dennis. There's other transfers to make. But if I was to go for one now, it probably would be Dennis.
Yeah, it sort of just came out of the blue, didn't it? The game week after that, suddenly Ranieri was using King on the wing, which is annoying at the time. I had King then as well. But yeah, that it's interesting, the odds on Dominic Calvert-Lewin to score and Antonio, because that's going to be such that's going to be a popular move people are considering, getting Dennis or King for one of those two. So that's kind of what makes it so difficult.
Oh, they'll be the mate wait for Kane, won't they? Because a lot of people have Son downgraded, and yeah, I think those two will be a popular transfer, like you say.
I'm just thinking about it now. Actually, I'm wondering. In my team, something I hadn't considered was if I did take out Calvert-Lewin and took him down to Dennis, I would then be able to afford Son to Bruno. So yeah, it's interesting. Maybe that's something to think about. But I think
you had a tactical switch, didn't they? The FA Cup, like it was 4-2-3-1, wasn't it, rather than 4-2-2-2? So that'll be interesting.
I know popular FPL person, late riser, loves a differential. I think he's bringing in Bruno this week. So yeah, there are decent players out there going for Bruno. It's just
easier to go to Salah after that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's one of his reasons. You're keeping all the money there, so it's an easy transfer then to Salah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm still leaning towards Maddison, I think.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's either Antonio and Son for Kane and Maddison, or Son to Bruno for me. Yeah, it's gonna wait to see for team news and stuff. Next slide is damn. It's on a go slow today. It's around the transfer window, and obviously Aston Villa main players so far: Coutinho, Digne, and then obviously Newcastle bringing in Chris Wood, 25 million. Pretty much ruining the relegation rivals in the process. Maybe that's the strategy they're going for. But Wood's always been a popular choice in FPL, hasn't it? So it'll be interesting to see when Newcastle get a few favourable fixtures whether people go for him. But the more glamorous side of things is probably Villa's moves, Coutinho and Digne. And then after the United game, I think Villa have still got a postponement as well, haven't they? They've still got double in the bank. But after United in 22, their fixtures read Everton, Leeds, Newcastle, Watford, Brighton, Southampton. So I think a Villa player is going to be popular. I actually think Digne will probably be a better shout than Coutinho, just in terms of FPL points. But yeah, going to watch that game closely, I think, against United and see who the best Villa players are. I hope he starts.
Are you saying that because you think Coutinho might need some time to bed in and get you back used to the Premier League and stuff? Or
yeah, I obviously an unbelievable footballer, and he had a great one season at Liverpool. I probably should have brought up his goals and assists actually, but at Barcelona, obviously he's not done too great. His goals and assists haven't been too good, and I don't think at Liverpool they were that impressive, were they?
Yeah, I think part of his issue when he moved to Barca was that him and Messi just played the same position, and it didn't really work having them both in the same team. Because then when he went to Bayern on loan after he had
that was his best season, wasn't it? Yeah,
that's his best recent season. So I do think, like, I've seen some people saying that this is like when Everton signed James, but one, I don't think Coutinho's as injury prone as James, and two, he's got the previous experience playing in the Premier League, so the adjustment period won't be as strong, and also the fact that he's with Gerrard, who he knows already and has a great relationship with. So I don't think it's a bit unfair to compare it to James. And it's a nice price, isn't it? 7 million. Like if he does settle and he does hit the ground running in that team, like the way that we don't really like to say it, but yeah, Gerrard seems to be doing well there. He seems to know what he's doing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're considering Coutinho at some point. Do you think it makes... What do you think this means for Watkins? Because people are saying Coutinho might end up playing in that left wing cutting in position. Do you think that then makes Watkins nailed on up front and Ings will be like back up? It's an extra bit of competition in that area, isn't it? Because Buendia's just come back and he looked good recently against United at the weekend. He looks to be performing now at number 10. So I don't know whether he'd just want to rip out Buendia from the team.
Yeah, I think.
Go on.
Yeah, I think if there's one Watkins or Ings up top in terms of more nailed on, you probably would go Watkins, wouldn't you, over Ings? So yeah, it'd be interesting to keep an eye on that move.
And yeah, Luca Dean's just such a good improvement on target, isn't he?
Yeah, I was trying to think who takes the set pieces at Villa at the moment, and no one. Was it Douglas Luiz? I was trying to think just before we came on.
He takes corners. Yeah, I'm not sure about free kicks.
Right, you'd fancy Luca Dean to get on a few of them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, good point.
And free kicks as well. Yeah, I just think for that reason as well. That must be a reason why they've signed him as well. Because normally most teams like set piece takers, you know them instantly, don't you? Obviously, Ward-Prowse is the obvious one, but every other team. And in Villa, I just couldn't work out who takes the free kicks and stuff. So that maybe that's the reason why as well. A big reason as to why they signed him, which is obviously great for FPL.
So would you start looking at getting Villa players in next game week, or would you wait till the Leeds in 24?
Probably Leeds, unless they beat United quite handsomely. That'll probably will be the Leeds fixture. Everyone kind of jumps on. Yeah, probably a striker, and I think two players isn't a bad shout for that period, because obviously they start like under Gerrard, they do look good.
Because this kind of like, it's what I was talking about before, where we're going to want to bring in Villa players soon, and as you were saying with City's run, you're going to want to bring in City players next week. So there's part of me thinking that's why I was saying taking hits and bringing in lots of the doublers this week. Maybe not that wise. Maybe there's more gain here in bringing in the Villa players and City players with their run. So yeah, something to think about.
We'll move on to the last slide in about 5 minutes once it loads up.
Your computer's got my hangover.
It did it last time, but when before we go on air, it does it fine, and then for some reason I have to have a play with it.
Stage fright.
Yeah, so these are obviously the fixtures over the next 5 game weeks. Yeah, United top, Chelsea bottom. Obviously, with them 2 blanks come in. Mo Salah's arrival is back. The Leicester game, so Brentford and Palace, comes back to Leicester, who aren't that great, but then obviously Burnley and Norwich. So go without Salah if you dare when he returns. But in terms of captaincy, before he does get back, who are you looking at over the next couple?
Well, it was going to be Ronaldo until I saw that tweet about him, what we mentioned at the start, about him needing to see how he responds to training. It probably will still be Ronaldo unless there's some update that says he's unlikely to if we get any update before the deadline. I think it's going to be Ronaldo this week. But if you were on free hit and you could go Ronaldo or Kane, I'd probably lean to Kane now.
Even without Son?
But I think so, yeah. Just because, he's nailed on to play both games, isn't he? He's going to, and it'll be 180. He's not going to come off. Whereas with Ronaldo, if he has this lingering doubt over his fitness, he maybe won't get 90 in both, even if he is fit to start. What would you if you were on free hit, would you still go Ronaldo
then? Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, probably Ronaldo probably still edge it, but like I say, Rangnick's press conference might. I think if Son was still fit and I still had Son, then that would be more of a temptation. Son and Kane in the same team. I think when one of them's out, the team really does suffer. I'm not sure if it's happened yet under Conte. One of them not playing. Obviously, Son's missed the Carabao Cup. But I'm not sure you can take too much from that. But yeah, obviously the team will be a lot weaker. But that is the decision, isn't it? I'm trying to think. Well, you obviously want a double. You obviously don't go what for striker unless you're a big maverick.
I mean, it's an option though, isn't it? Actually,
yeah.
Like Dennis captain,
and obviously Liverpool's fixture is great, Jota. But when there's a double, you're always going for the double, aren't you?
Yeah. I think if Salah was here, I think Salah versus Brentford, that would be. I'd probably actually consider
a decision.
Yeah, but without Salah, not so much. Because we don't really know how well Liverpool are going to play without Salah and Mane. So yeah, wouldn't really consider that one. What about next week?
A few fixtures that stand out there: Arsenal, Burnley. So keep on to an Arsenal player if you can on your bench. City, Southampton, United, West Ham. Not an easy game that. And then Liverpool, Palace. So Jota probably comes into the equation, doesn't it?
So yeah, we should probably talk about City then, actually, because we've been mentioning their run. So their fixtures are: is it Southampton, Brentford, Norwich?
Yeah, next three. Yeah.
So more than likely, I'm going to be bringing in a City player next week. Back to your favourite question: which City midfielder would you get?
It's a tricky one. Interestingly, City, I think the only team they have to play away now is West Ham in the top 10. Like the fixtures, I don't know how they are where they are, but if they don't win the league from here, it'd be a big upset. So yeah, that's one to like. If you bring in a City player, it's pretty much for the season, I'd say, because all the big teams you got to play at home anyway. City are good away from, but yeah, that's one to keep in mind. But in terms of which player I'd be tempted to bring in, obviously Cancelo is in most teams. Probably still be Foden, I reckon.
Yeah. Despite
his how would you describe it? His
not sure what you're referring to. So would you also consider maybe getting Diaz in, double up for this? Because as you just said, the fixtures are so good.
Yeah, I think if you're going to do that, commit to it. Because I had Diaz at the start of the season, and I kind of brought him out after a couple of weeks, and then City went on a long run of clean sheets. So I think if you're going to make a decision like bringing Diaz and providing he's not injured, that's one for the season or a lot of games until you play a wild card.
And yeah, the reason I mentioned that is because I'm in a position where I've got to get rid of.
Yeah.
I've got to get rid of Alonso.
Right.
And yeah, Alonso to Diaz could potentially be a play for me. So that's might be a -4 next week, bringing in Foden and Diaz. So yeah, it's always good to look ahead a little bit. It's tricky to plan at the moment though. And do you remember last season we were like, there'll never be a season as hard as this season. Honestly, like can't wait for it.
This has been worse. Yeah.
Yeah, this has been horrendous.
It's just down to how contagious, isn't it? Omicron is compared to the other ones.
Yeah, and then I guess the other team target is the Villa players, but we talked quite a bit about that already. Is there anything else that stands out to you?
Nah, well, we're only really planning for the next two, aren't we? Because if Salah's back 24 and permanent captain strikes again, although City's fixtures, Brentford, Norwich, don't know. Salah, he kind of nailed on, isn't it? The only thing that'll, I mean, it's still not going to happen. But if Liverpool kind of lose ground, they still need to make top two, don't they? He's not going to get rested in Premier League. My only thought is they might focus on Champions League and FA Cup, League Cup, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, fair. Right. So is that everything for this week?
Yeah. So in terms of transfer, what are you going to do?
Well, Son to someone's going to happen. It's just it's 90% on Maddison. I think the fact that Rodgers has said they've got players back and they should be able to fulfil their fixtures, that's moved that percentage up. I was a bit unsure, thinking, do I want to go for a Leicester player if one of the games might be postponed before? But it does sound like they're in better position. So, yeah, Maddison, I think. The other one I'm weighing up is the -4 that I just discovered I might be able to do before. Maybe Calvert-Lewin to Dennis and Son to Bruno. There's only, I'd say, a small chance of that happening, though. More likely going for Maddison. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm on the same lines, I think. Either Antonio and Son to Kane and Maddison.
Right.
Or Son to Maddison. Or Son to Bruno.
So if you were in my position and you've got Calvert-Lewin and Antonio, and you were considering getting rid of one of them for Dennis, which one would you who would you get rid of, Antonio or Calvert-Lewin?
Look at those Everton fixtures. I think. Oh, but you double up on. I was going to say what would make it easier is you've already got a West Ham player, but you've got two Everton, so that doesn't make it.
Yeah,
I mean, those Everton fixtures look great, don't they? I'd probably be tempted by Antonio.
Yeah, so that's something to think about. I'm not really sure about that. Hopefully there'll be some information over the next day or so that makes it a bit easier. And yeah, we'll try to tweet out our transfers and stuff as ever. Anything else to mention before we wrap up?
No, good to be back talking about FPL. Hope good luck with everyone's moves this week. And remember to subscribe if you enjoyed the podcast. Yeah,
subscribe, like, and yeah, what else? Leave a review, please, if you can. Hit the bell so you get notified when we go live in future. Yeah, that's it. Got hopefully the worst of COVID's out of the way. I've had it now. Hopefully, I won't get it again for a while at least. So yeah, hopefully things will be better for FPL, as you were saying. Springtime coming. No more of the nonsense.
On that note, see you all next week.
See you next week.